I'm Marshall Jefferson, the Godfather of House music.
I'm Sean Mabaya in a new band called Kid British.
Hottest band in Britain. I'm working on an album with a group called F Generation, and I'm doing a little bit with Kid British.
I mean, basically, I'm the producer and co-producer on the album. The songs are from reggae, Britpop,
everything
actually, yeah.
Everything you could think of.
Beatles moments. We basically, I think the whole band's about, and the music we do is just about what the influences we've had across our lives and stuff. Yeah, it's a freedom album. Yeah.
Four songwriters, and they got a lot of versatility. Very versatile band, and I mean they could do anything you think of. They could, they could go head to head with any live band out there, and they could write songs with any songwriter out there. So it's really exciting to see them working. I just went to a music store with a friend of mine, right? And the sales guy was trying to sell him something called a Yamaha QX1. It was one of the first sequencers, right? And he told my friend, he said, with this sequencer, you could play keyboards like Herbie Hancock and Stevie Wonder, right? And and the guy was, oh man, you think I'm Boo Boo the Fool? There ain't no way, right? But I was listening to him, and I believed it, right? So I was working at the post office at the time. They gave me a huge line of credit. They do that in music stores, and I said, I'm going to buy it. Right? So I bought the sequencer. Then he said, you don't want to have the sequencer and not have a keyboard to play, do you? And I said, oh, yeah, you're right. So I bought a keyboard. He said, you don't want to have this keyboard, this sequencer, and not have a drum machine, do you? I said, oh, yeah, you're right. You don't want to have this sequencer and this keyboard, this drum machine, and not have something to play it all through, do you? And he sold me a mixer and a recorder and an amp, and all told, it sold me like about $9,000 of stuff, right? So I took it all home, and by then, all my friends came over. It was they talked about me for hours. They were laughing at me for hours. Bought all this stuff and don't even know how to play nothing. And I wrote my first song 2 days later. Next year, I had my first hit out. Move Your Body went platinum. The guitar player, I was paying him $150 an hour to play guitar on some of my stuff. And DJs all over the world started hiring keyboard players and telling them to play keyboards like Marshall Jefferson. So it worked. And I've been, my first 15 songs or so before I could afford to pay people, I played all my own instruments. I always play my own keyboard parts, and but I really got a big love for live instruments, and I've always incorporated the live instruments into my stuff. So I got loads of musicians in Chicago that I worked with over the years, and it got me in the music business, being gullible. In the past, right? The software sense and the software sound were very thin sound, and you could always tell them. You could always tell the difference between that and a real drum machine, right? And now it's getting harder to tell. You can't tell with the BFDs, and that's why I'm taking them over like all the other drums, is because it's fat from the start, right? And a lot of people, like in dance music, they kind of pass by BFDs because they say, oh, well, that's live drums. I don't want live drums. I want I want drum machines. But see, the synth drums and the drum machines aren't as fat as that, right? You get those sounds, the BFD sounds, are like total fatness, right? And when you have that original fatness and that that thickness to start out with, it's not much work to do to make your drum sound fat. Now, to keep things from sounding dated, I like to process them a lot, And oh man, it sounded nice because you get, you know, it's like I don't even know how to describe it. I mean, when I used to do 909 drums, 808 drums, and 707s, right? It they were pretty fat for drum machines, but you know, I like the sound of live drums better and stuff. But like now, I got the live drums and I could process them, make them sound more dancey and more up to date. Well, see, I use Logic, right? It's just so many effects in there that you could use on your drums. You know, like okay, I use like Pultec sounds and stuff, but you know, loads of plug-in Pultec. I use Logic has a load of guitar amps that you send the drums to, right? Mm-hmm. I use reverbs, I use flanges, you know, it's loads of stuff. There's this thing called tremolo, right? That it's just sick, ain't it? You know, and you know, it's just loads of different effects that you could. It's endless. You know, you can't name them all. How many effects that you could put on the drums these days? But you got to have the fatness to start out with, right? You have a thin drum to start out with, and you throw the effect on it, it's still going to be thin, you know. But you have the fat one to start out with, and you throw the effect on it. Oh man, it's get nasty then. Yeah. You know, even a mixer in BFD, you got the ambient stuff, you got the overhead, and you know, and you could mess with that. I always boost up the direct, you know. But it's so many sounds to choose from too. It's not just the snare. No. They got the drag in there and and you know, and the chop and you know, all that kind of stuff that, you know, real drummers do. And I said, oh, this is nasty.
And it's important. I think it's important fixing it to the groove you want first, and then adding your instruments afterwards. You know, and it's so easy to adjust if you select layout as well. And what I usually do is play it in first, and then go through BFD. You know, get the sounds you want, and then go through the timing process as well, and quantize it towards that, and use the effects within it. And Simeon's had an idea for the band of a song, and we spent all week on it. And the reason it started off with a guitar part, and then I was like, this ain't working, I'm not feeling this. And then our sound engineer, by chance, came in, and he was in the studio, and he was messing around on BFD, started with a groove, and I said, that's the one there. And I was like, and it just sounded so fat and real, and it's just developed to be into a song which the label, you know, possible, you know, big hit, I believe. And that was just all from the drum sound.